Mr. Chairman. Ms. Secretary, I believe the money in this account is about 1% of all federal spending. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And out of that pot of money, we provide security for personnel, State Department officials all over the world, right?
That's right.
Have you ever seen more threats to us than you do today?
Senator, we're operating in an incredibly dangerous world.
So
we want to be out there.
Right. So it's hard to get out there if you can't get off the compound.
That's correct.
So this is 1% of the federal budget. If you eliminated the entire account, you're not doing anything to balance the budget. We need OCO, in my view, for the Navy, and we need OCO for this account to deal with the threats we face, because the top line numbers, hats off to Senator Murray and Collins, is just insufficient to the threats we face. Do you generally agree with that the amount of money we're dealing with is insufficient to the threats we face?
Yes, I do.
Let's talk about money. In the supplemental, which I supported, there was a provision that allowed, it's called repo, allowing us to go after Russian sovereign wealth funds. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you having good luck in doing that?
We're starting to, and first of all, I want to thank you for that. I think that was a very important initiative. Just today, the European Union came to an agreement to use the interest from these sovereign assets and to just be able to use it for Ukraine.
What about the principle?
So the principle is the next challenge, and we're working hard on that. I think here's where we are. My hope is that we can come to agreement at the very least on an arrangement by which the principal would in effect serve as collateral against a significant loan or bond that would free up a lot of money for the Ukrainians.
Count me in, and I think all of us pushing our European allies to go after Russian assets, to open up another front, to hit Putin and his cronies in the pocketbook. So I want to help you there. Do you support Russia being designated as state sponsor of terror?
So this is, I know, an ongoing conversation we've had, and one that...
well, I just got a few minutes, so...
Yeah, so very quickly, look, I think my perspective is this. We have and we're using many other authorities that I think are more clearly applicable.
We'll talk offline. I would urge you to do
this.
We need to send a signal to Russia. We're serious at every level, and they deserve to be a state sponsor of terrorism. I got a list of people that died that's too long for me to run off, and I can't say half their names, so it's time for Putin to be labeled a state sponsor of terrorism. They've just wreaked havoc. Now let's get to the ICC. Did you reach out to the prosecutor's office about your concerns of bringing a case against Israel?
Yes.
Did you talk about the concept of complementarity?
That's exactly what I talked about, because it's exactly as you said. My understanding of the court's intent.
So I want to, we have a lot of different, I want to thank you. I want to thank President Biden for issuing a strong statement. Your statement was terrific, Ms. Secretary. Senator Schumer was very, very good. I, along with many others, engaged the ICC to engage Israel before you made a final decision. At least listen to them and see if you could find common ground. Again, I want to repeat, they were supposed to be on the ground yesterday. Is that correct, the ICC?
That's my understanding, yes.
And they informed the Israelis basically after the flight left, they were not coming. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
And there was a CNN interview with a prosecutor general announcing the arrest warrant. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, too.
Which was filmed before the flight was due to leave.
I believe that's...
I think that's bad faith, folks. So I want to take actions, not just words. Will you support bipartisan effort to sanction the ICC, not only for the outrage against Israel, but to protect in the future our own interest?
I welcome working with you on that.
Okay. Let it be said that we're going to work together to send a signal to the ICC. What you did was not only outrageous, you destroyed the rule of law as we know it, and you've given, like, Venezuela 9 months. And I've never been more disappointed. We work together to help the ICC against Russia. Ungoverned spaces and rogue nations are the point of ICC, not Israel. So let's talk about the deal. Are you optimistic that the normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel is still possible?
I am, and I have to first of all applaud the work that you've done on this over many, many months in helping carry this forward. And I think we're at a point where the necessary agreements between the United States and Saudi Arabia are very well within reach. And of course, we would bring all of this before Congress. But then the question will be, if those agreements are able to be concluded, it still requires Israel to do certain things in order to proceed with normalization.
I've heard the statement, the ball is about to be in Israel's court. Is that fair to say?
That's my assessment, yes.
Okay, so as I understand it, here's what's non-negotiable. Nobody expects Hamas to be standing militarily when this war is over, right? We share Israel's view. They must go militarily.
We share Israel's view that Hamas cannot be governing Gaza.
Right, and they cannot be a military threat to Israel. We all agree with that. Okay, now, as to the Palestinian future, we were on television last week, and I thought you laid out a pretty eloquent, what's going to happen once the battalions are destroyed? What does the day after look like? Do you believe a military occupation of Gaza by Israel is sustainable?
No.
You know, I have real doubts about that myself. Do you believe that Saudi Arabia and the UAE have the capability, if they have the will, to turn Gaza and West Bank around?
I believe a number of countries could play an instrumental role in, at least on an interim basis if necessary, helping to provide security, helping to provide governance or governance oversight.
It could be a coalition of people. Do you believe MBS is sincere in wanting to normalize with Israel?
Yes.
Do you believe that the Palestinian component is not the establishment of a Palestinian state on day one, but a process that may get to there?
There has to be a clear, credible pathway to a state.
But not the establishment of state on day one.
Well, day one is virtually impossible, but getting to a state in a
that's one of the things he wants. That's one of the things he wants to recognize.
It has to be credible, it has to be clear. In my judgment, we need to have something that's time-bound, and of course, it has to have the necessary security guarantees for Israel.
So you're not advocating any agreement between normalization that would compromise Israel's security regarding the Palestinian file?
No, the whole point of normalization, but also the whole point of the establishment of a Palestinian state is to make sure that Israel's security is better ensured.
I've been over there several times. Senator Collins went. A lot of people here went. I know my time's up. I cannot see a better time than now. The need to come up with a plan for Gaza and the West Bank after Hamas falls, and it will, is real. The opportunity is historic. Do not let this moment pass. To my friends in Israel, I will never abandon your security, but we're going to have to sit down as a world and make some hard decisions. So, Mr. Secretary, I've enjoyed working with you and Mr. Sullivan and the President. I have said publicly, I think this needs to be done on your watch, and I want to say again publicly, as a Republican, I think most of my colleagues would embrace a security agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia if it would lead to normalization and a brighter future for Israel and the Palestinian people. I believe that is the position of most people on my side of the aisle, and we want to help you.
Thank you, Senator.